right, happy Thursday again. Just a reminder, I've been posting the recording links here in the GitHub repository, not in Canvas, just because I'm too lazy to copy paste twice, apologies. But you can get to that course repository from here, then you can go find the links. So I had one person ask me about it, so like, yeah, that's where they are. So great, they're out there. And then in the syllabus here, I forgot, because it's been a great start to the year here. There's a section here for quizzes. Talk about quizzes. I forgot about them. So now I remembered to do them. So there's some quizzes now. The first one is the syllabus quiz. It's like 3 points. Essentially, you're acknowledging you understand the academic integrity policy. And then if you cheat and fail, I get to turn this into the dean and say, look, they said they agreed to the policy. Right? And some other silly questions like how do you talk to me, and then stuff like that. And then the quiz on GUI programming stuff. Take some time. If you don't get it in today, that's okay. I can just change the date on that right now, I guess. Not super concerned because I don't think I posted this one until like the other day. I'm trying to remember when I even posted it. So I'll bump that out a week. So ideally, I remember to post the quizzes every week after class. That's the goal. And again, open book, open notes, they're untimed. Read the questions, come back to them. The goal is you now go open the textbook. And then maybe you have to go watch the recordings again if you're daydreaming or something. That's the idea with these. So if the questions don't make sense, it's because I wrote them, please ask me. I will happily tell you what I meant or what the question means, because sometimes they're weird here. So like some of these are a little silly. Like writing a GUI program is basically the same as writing a console-based program. Is that true or false? So these are easy, right? They're not hard. Just okay. So those sorts of things. So just 10 questions each week. Yeah.
Well, okay, I took the quiz and that was actually the only one I got wrong because I didn't understand it.
Same here.
Okay.
When you say basically the same thing, do you mean, because, well, from my interpretation, I was like, I'm punching code into a C# file on Visual Studio Code. I don't remember what I answered. I just remember I got it wrong. What was your, I guess you don't need to explain it because people probably haven't taken it yet.
That's fine. It's a point.
What do you mean by basically the same thing?
It's very different.
Okay.
Right? What all of our console-based programs have a start, you hit run, and then they finish.
Okay. I was thinking about
They sit there and you have to like type at them.
I was thinking about like writing, like typing into the Visual Studio.
I mean,
I kind of took that.
Sure.
I mean, you still use functions. You still do all of the coding pretty much the same, except for like reading and writing, like reading input and writing output. Obviously, is different because you're using like controls.
yeah, text boxes and buttons and.
You know, as opposed to doing like a read line or a write line. But that's same here. I
Okay.
got that wrong.
I will give everyone the point for it. It's okay. Yeah.
But I put a comment on mine.
Yeah, I think I saw that one come through. So the idea here is it's very different that now we're event driven. There's no longer a flow of here's the start, here's the finish. It's the window shows up and we now have to figure out what the user wants to do. The user then will dictate, hey, I might type something in, I might hit enter, I might click this button, I might pull on this drop down. Whatever order they do it in, we still have to deal with it. So having good defaults and all, so the paradigm has shifted a little bit to be event-driven rather than just top-down one line after another. So the way that we code things being event-driven is very different than the way we would code things with just a console program that has a very clear, here's the start, here's the finish. So yeah, I'm sorry if that was confusing. This is a great example of why these questions are confusing, because I write them and I'm like, yeah, of course that makes sense. So no worries. I will go in and give everyone the point for that. So yeah, no worries there. So that was the idea with the quizzes. So we'll do one every week over the stuff we talked about. I've not got a chance to look at Project 0 yet. I'll take a look at those. Less people turned in Project 1. It's probably a bad sign. And we had 50 people in the class, so I'm a little concerned by the numbers here. But let me hit refresh just in case. Yeah, that didn't go up very much. So that's a little concerning. Yeah.
I'm just asking, so I messed up a little bit so when I did Project 0, it was before the due date and it was working, it was fine. But then a few days after the lecture, I went back and I made it like more efficient. But I included in like the commit history that you go to the
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, it's all commit. It's all the history and
make
Git.
sure that it won't be
No,
that
not.
I did it after, because
Yeah, so that's the great thing. Like if I just go to my GitHub repository, it's all time-stamped. So anything you change, no, this one here, 2024, right? I can see when the commit was, what date it was. So essentially, if the file's been changed after the due date, I just go find the latest commit, or like the commit closest to the due date that's not after, right? And then I'll look at that version. So yeah, no worries about it there. I had a bunch of stuff in this one here. So yeah, Git's great. It timestamps it all. There are ways to cheat it. Please don't, because it will cause me all sorts of headache. And then you're messing with Git commands you probably shouldn't be. So if you use the GitHub desktop client, it won't, and it'll just work for you. So another reason that tool is great. All right. So we want to talk about Project 1, our redone version of our stay out of federal jail game, right? Where we have to guess how much we owe the IRS instead of them telling us. It should be so much easier. Like I don't. Okay. Anyway, so let's pull that one up. No, I'm in the wrong class here, aren't I? This one here. I was showing you the wrong version. My apologies. You saw what was coming up. You're very excited, I'm sure. All right. So Project 1, and let me pull up Visual Studio. We'll go through this. It should be pretty quick to build this out here. So I'm going to make a new project. I don't want a console app. I want my form app, not the .NET framework. This one should be fine here. So let's go Project 1, next, and create. And then I have everything from Project 0 here. I'm pretty much going to steal this code, right? Because all the same stuff applies here. We just need to now, instead of it being some console input loops for what's your income here, now we're just going to have a text box and a button and let it accumulate for these things here. And then I'll hit show me my taxes, or we can have an update every single time. Right? As you start adding your income, you can watch those numbers go up and up and up and up and be thrilled with how much you owe the feds here. Right? Or we can wait and give it a button. Lots of different ways to go about it here. So we can have fun with it. So let me go to my toolbox. I'm going to grab a text box here. And I'm going to grab a label. This is the fun part, right? Building all this out here. So something in here, right? We need to tell it what we want it to be called. Text here. So enter a W-2 income. Does that probably make sense here, right? And then a button to do something with it over here. And maybe we call this one add income here. Make it a little bit bigger. Again, I'm terrible at UIs. I think I've apologized already for it. So if we're going to use this text box, right, we give it a name here. So here's our income text box. Great. We got the add income button. So when we click this button, what do we want to do? Well, we want to do something here. So we get some code. Now I'm in my code behind. Now, if I want values to be available everywhere in every method, they have to be class level attributes. Right? So we can add class level attributes to our code here. So we want a double. Do we do integers or do we do doubles? I'm trying to remember. It's probably doubles, right? For some of these things. Let's go copy paste. We had. Oh no, we had ints for total deductions. Okay, cool. So we did integers for those. So we have ints here. Now I don't need this get total stuff, but just so I've got some variables here. We'll start them off at 0. Start them off at 0. Okay, so I got gross income, I have total deductions. So these are two values that I'll be able to access everywhere in my class. And then I'll grab all my constants here because those were useful, right? You can throw those in here, right? Again, those were the brackets I was using. We can add in our function here for calculating, right? This is all nice and good here. Have a little helper function. Putting it in this location is probably a little funny here, right? Generally you want your constructors near the top, and it's probably a little better. I don't care too much, but that's fine. We'll put it somewhere. Okay, and then we need a label somewhere so we can show taxes, right? So maybe this will be our taxes owed label. Taxes owed label. Nope, sorry, that's all one word. Taxes owed label, and we probably take the text off for now, or I don't know, taxes owed something. We can pick it. So as we go then, right, when I click my button, what do I want to do? Well, I want to take the value that's in the text box and go add it to my total income. So I'll take my gross income and I'll add to it my income text box dot text, and I need that converted, right? So I need that as an integer, so int int32.parse, int.parse. Probably a parse here. This will probably work. Again, we haven't talked about exceptions. It will probably crash if you give me weird stuff. That's fine for now. We'll get to that in these next couple chapters, how we can not crash. For some reason, it's super annoying when apps crash, especially as software engineers and programmers, because we'll learn how to make them not crash. And then when an app does crash, you're just pissed off. Like, why are you so lazy to let your app crash, developers? And you get mad at other people. All right, anyway, so we'll just add to the income. And then if this button is going to trigger updating our taxes label, maybe we have a function for it. We have a void update taxes owed label or something. Call it anything we want. So that I can call that function to go update that label. So to update that label, we have to go do all of our calculations, right? So all of our calculations are pretty much the same things here, right? Here's total taxes owed. There we go. I'll just copy paste all of that in here. Now I probably should cite my source here, right? Because that's what I expect you folks to do. So I think I stole it from like everywhere. So I'll just throw it up here at the top, you know, redone version of, there we go. It's probably close enough. I don't know if 50% of this is going to be new work, I'll be honest, but because it's the same assignment, I'm not super concerned. Right? That idea for like our English papers and things, you should have some original effort. I said at least 50%. It's okay, because you know, half done already, so don't sweat that. All right, so our taxes owed label then is going to use, so we don't have an adjusted gross income variable yet. We probably should make one, right? So I don't know, let's go have a variable for int adjusted gross income. Start that off at 0, I guess. And then we can go and calculate this as we go. So maybe the first thing that it does is it says my adjusted gross income is equal to my gross income minus my deductions, total deductions, but that's not really going to work, right? Because I got to make sure my deductions were right. So make sure my total deductions is here. Now this feels a little bad because I have a bunch of stuff happening, but it's probably okay, right? So every time I'm going to update the label, I'm going to see, hey, is there a new value here? We could, because our button does that. Because as I'm adding income, I'm just going to keep on updating this tax label here, right? So either I have it be part of here, or I think later I'm going to add the deductions, and I'll also trigger the same update the taxes owed label. And I can just do the calculations for me. So now I've got all these taxes owed. Now I don't want a console write line though, right? Because no one is going to see the console because it's a graphical user interface program. It's gone. So what I want to do is instead update my label. So I'm going to take all of this console write line stuff, I'm going to replace. So Control H, or go to Edit, Find and Replace. And replace that with, now I just need one line here for my text label. What was it? Taxes owed label dot text. And I'm going to say, I don't know, plus equals. And I can replace every time I say console write. No, come on, console. Oh, come on. Write line, parentheses. Replace that with my taxes owed label.text.append, or like plus equals, right? We're appending here. And I can start replacing these things as I go. Now I've got a couple extra parentheses at the end here, and that's okay. Sure, so I can go and edit those out, or I don't have anything super clever at the moment here. I probably could go like search for a quote and then a parenthesis and a colon, but this is probably okay. Now, the other piece that I'm missing is the new lines, right? Because this is just going to string them all together all the way this direction, because I didn't add any new lines. So I have to add a bunch of new lines here. All right, sure. So I guess I'm going to try and find this. We'll try this for a, let's replace that with the same thing. So curly brace, quote, semicolon with another, what, environment.newline? Is that what that is? Environment.newline. This is supposed to be the better way to do it, right? That's what someone told me. Replace that with an environment new line. And then I can go through and make sure I'm not replacing too many of these, right? So let's go, I want to find the next one. Yep, so it's highlighting this one. It's about to replace this one. So let's see. All right, it looks good, looks good, looks good, looks good, looks good, looks good. Didn't find any more. Okay, because I had spaces I was missing here. Let me throw in some spaces here. Hey, look at that. I picked it up. Replace, replace, replace. Awesome. So I added a bunch of new lines. Probably will update the label as it goes. Here, should we try it? Again, we haven't really done anything with deductions yet, but that's okay. We'll get back to it. we'll come back to it when we go. All right, so taxes owed. So let's say here's 10,000, add some income. Well, nothing yet because of the standard deduction. That's okay, so let's add 10,000 more. Uh-oh. The first one should probably set the text, right? And because if I keep on appending and appending and appending, that's not very good here. So we're getting close. So let's go say then the first line will be setting the text, and then we'll start appending here. Okay? And I might even want to add in here like a total taxes owed or total adjusted gross income, or maybe we'll leave this in here. I'll take my taxes owed label. I'll set the text equal to gross income equals, do our interpolated string, gross income. And probably format that, right? Is it with the digit separators or something? I forget what these, I don't even remember. C# format, string digit separator. C# integer? That might be it. Aha! String format. None of that looks good here. String format integer interpolation. I'm so glad it does the, I think you meant to type this thing here. Let's see, what's our format here then? My format string. I just want some numbers now. Don't want literals. F3, that's fixed, right? I want fixed. I don't need special characters, I don't need culture. I just want like digits, whatever. I wanted the digit separator. Digit separator. Pound, comma, 0. Let's try that. Colon, pound, 0. Does that look right? Let's give it a try. And again, I'll drop this in here because I shamelessly copy paste everything. Okay, so we looked that up. So we got gross income. So we should see if that's changing now as it goes. So we add some income, 10,000, we're at 10,000. Oh, I forgot my new lines, but okay. Now it's 20,000, now it's 30,000. Now we start owing taxes, right? Because I have the married deduction for mine, which is 27,000. So the first $27,000 are tax-free. Thank you for paying your taxes. Okay, so it seems to be working so far, but now we don't have any deductions yet. And again, our new lines, right? Plus environment.new line. Okay. Add in some new lines, make it look a little prettier. So now we need a way to add my deductions. Okay, we'll come back to our form, add in some more stuff here. So add a label. Actually, I can, not that. I can grab these three things and copy paste them. It's a little bit fun. So here now we want to just change the text, enter a deduction. And this is now going to be a deduction text box here. And we want to say add deduction. Where's my text? Add deduction? Or is it subtract deduction? The math is confusing here. What do you want to call it? I don't know. I left it as button 2. I feel a little bad about it, but that's okay. So it pretty much does the same thing as this one here, but we're going to do the deductions instead of the income. Deductions, total deductions is parse my deductions text box. And then we'll update the labels. Right? Okay, cool. Let's give that a shot. Oh, I forgot to add it to my label here. Let's add it to the label, make it look a little prettier. So I've got gross income, and then we'll add total deductions. It's going to be total deductions with the separator, right? And a new line. Okay, that looks pretty happy. Give that a shot. So let's add, say, 50,000 here. We'll just make it a little faster in one shot here. We'll add some income. All right, a little bit large, but that's okay. We should probably do some digit separating formatting here, right? Okay, so let's go fix that. So when we were printing out here, a tax is owed as a percentage here. Now, this number is not really a percentage because we didn't multiply by 100. But if we multiply by 100, then we'll get the actual percentage of it, right? With our percent sign. And then if we want to format that, right, with like 0.2f or something, I think that's 0.2f. That might be. We'll do that times 100. Or do we even care about decimal places at that point? Maybe we do. 2F. And then that's percent here. Let's give that a try. See if that looks any prettier. So 50,000. Add my income. Okay, it's just a little bit long. Oh, no, I didn't like the F there. Okay. What is, oh, colon 2? Oh, goodness. Where's my colon 1 comma 0 n? I don't want n digits. Digits, leading zeros, what's a significant digit? Wow, don't, this is decimal places. Hey, there we go. 0 point, pound, okay, sure. Let's try that. For 2 decimal places, let's just go 1 decimal place. Let's see if that works for us. I should cite this one, right? Let's see if that one works for us. This is what you do, right? You just try things and see what sticks, throw it against the wall. Super technical process. Hey, 4.5%, okay. Looks pretty reasonable, right? Total taxes, 22,000 as adjusted gross income, right? With that, I think that's pretty close, 10%. Okay, we could throw in all the other numbers too if we wanted. Oh, what happened to I copy pasted and forgot the plus sign. Plus equals, there, now we'll keep our gross income. So should we do the adjusted gross income too? Taxes owed label, text, plus equals, adjusted gross income. Adjusted gross income. Environment new line, there we go. And do our little formatting here, right? We're gonna make it look real pretty. Real pretty is a stretch for my project, but that's okay. Uh-oh. Missed a semicolon. Semicolon. There we go, that was easy. I feel like sometimes I should just add those for you, shouldn't it? Like if it knows I missed one. All right. Yeah, so adjusted gross income 22,000, total taxes 2,200. I think we're pretty close to 10%. All right, so if we add some deductions now, so we need to add more than 27,000, right, before this will actually do anything. So this would be a little confusing, right, as you start adding numbers and nothing changes. Right? Add the deduction, nothing happened. Uh-oh, it did. Yeah, add it to it because I changed my total deductions. Did a bad thing, right? Did you see that happen? Because this one changes my total deductions. When I add a deduction, it added it to that plus the total, which is not allowed. The feds will be very upset if you do that. So maybe we need to just calculate it this way here. Say, hey, my adjusted gross income is that minus the standard. Otherwise, we can calculate my adjusted gross income is my gross income minus the total deductions. Does that seem a little safer? Right, so if my itemized deductions is less than the deduction, now I've just calculated here instead of changing it. But now my total deductions is going to be a little bit off now. So I need to know which one I'm using. Okay, well, we could do another if else, or we could have another value for it. How about we just add another value for it? That seems easy, right? Have an int for deductions claimed. Can we do that? So if we're going to do that, then we can say my adjusted gross income is my gross income minus the deductions claimed, and just set that one real quick. You can use one of your this might be fun for one of those ternary expressions, right? Should we do one of those instead? Because those are so fun. So your deductions claimed is, nope. Deductions claimed is equal to, this will be, now my total deductions is greater than my standard, or less than the standard. So then colon, I get the standard. Parentheses.
You have to have a question mark somewhere.
as a question mark. This is why I hate these things. There we go. So standard deduction. So if that's true, we take the standard. Otherwise, colon, we take the total deductions. Look at that. We saved so many lines of code and made this worse. But sure, right? Do you like this? If you like these better, that's great. I don't mean to make fun of them all the time. They just irritate me. That's all, right? So how about we leave this commented out? So we'll say this is an int, and we'll go comment this out. Because now we're cool, right? And then we can use our deductions claimed here, and our deductions claimed. Deductions claimed, how about that? We'll make this look nice. Now this is a little bit too far over, so I'm going to drag it a little bit more, see if I can squish it up so it's a little bit closer. And then some other nice things to do, right? When you click this button and parse it, you probably want to clear out the text, because otherwise I can just like click, 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 and it never does anything, right? And you might get the wrong income and then go to jail for tax fraud. It's bad stuff, right? We don't want that to happen. So I'm going to take my gross income income text box, income text box dot text, and assign it to string.empty. Look at that, string.empty. It's even better than a quote quote. I don't know why. Sure. And then we'll do the same for this one down here. We'll do our deduction text box, string empty. Okay, so now we can say here's 50,000 of income. We add that. We got some deductions. Let's add some more income. Let's add 25,000 more of income. All right, so now we got 75 gross income, and now we can start claiming, how about 15,000 deductions? Oh, well, we're still claiming that. Okay, how about another 15,000 deductions? All right, now we hit 15 plus 15, 30,000. So adjust for gross income, get some pretty easy calculations here. Life is good. This make sense? Okay, I want to do one more thing and play with this, because why not? We can have some fun here, right? So let's take this, and let me commit it as is here, so we've got the history of it here. And then we'll make it more fun, because why not? We got the whole toolbox here. So 297, there we go. So project 1, done, V1. So having two different buttons to click is a little bit annoying here, right? So what if we said instead we had some radio buttons? So what if I add two radio buttons here? Let's take this and this. So we'll call this one then, we'll set the text on this one to W2 income, and we'll set this one here to deduction. Deduction, right? And we should probably give them some names here. So this will be deduction radio button, and this will be the income radio button. And now one of them I want checked, right? So I'm going to say, hey, checked is default to true here, so that it starts off checked. Okay. Otherwise, they have to click one by default, like make them choose. So we'll just assume that's here. And then I can get rid of these ones for now, because I don't need these anymore. So we'll say enter a value, okay? And then we'll have this button now. Okay, so we don't need button 2, right? This one's gone, so we'll comment that one out. Now my button then, we'll say, how about the text is just add here? And I want to give it a name. So this will be my add button here. So now we have an add button. Okay. Now we need some event handling for these, right? So when they're clicked. So do I want it when the checked is changed? Probably, I think that's what it's suggested when I double clicked it here. Check changed. Okay, sure. And then how about for deduction too, when check changed? Here. Well, I want the same thing to happen if either button does something. So we'll go add a method. So I don't know, have it void radio button check changed. Now, I don't really need to know a whole lot here about what happened, because I can go see which button is checked. Okay, so I can say, hey, if I have my income radio button, income radio button button dot is checked. No, it's dot checked. There we go. Dot checked. So the checked property gets or sets a value indicating whether the control is checked. So if it's income, we'll do the income thing. Okay, so we'll take my gross income, right, what we were doing up here, where did it go? this one here, my gross income, and we'll add it and update the text box. Right? If it's not the income one, well, then it's got to be the deduction one. Right? But now we don't need to change that one. It's the income text box. Again, I got to go rename that one here. So I'm going to come back and change this now to just, what do I want to call the name here? Can this just be text box? So if I rename it there, it renames it in here for me too, which is really nice. Right? If I try and rename it otherwise, you could right click and rename is the other option. Don't just start changing names here. Right? And especially don't go to the design view, designer CS, and change it. You're in for trouble. Right. But is this fun? Now we can have a little checkbox to say which one that we do. Right. So as I change that checkbox, it will set it to deductions. Well, I don't actually want that to happen when I check the box though, right? Because then like I have to enter a number and then I have to click one of the radio buttons, then my add button's not really doing anything. So really, this is what should happen when I click the add button, when that button 1 is clicked. Right? And then I don't really care when stuff is checked. Nothing should happen when I flip between the two. Right? Because I should be able to flip between my radio buttons, and then when I click the add button, it should do something for me. Right? Or if I wanted, now how about what would be fun? Let's paste that in here. So we'll just say, why don't we take our add button, what was it, our button 1? I called it add button, didn't I? Yeah, add button dot text, and we'll change this to add income. And we'll take this add button dot text, we'll say add deduction. So we can change the text of our button because that's fun too, right? So add deduction, add income, add deduction, add income. Well, that's fun, but now I don't know which one's which, and it starts off with add, and that looks a little silly, doesn't it? So how about I go back and say none of these are checked. Let's go, where's my design view? What did I do? Come on. Come back. We upset Visual Studio. Does that mean it's time for a coffee break? I was so happy I went to the gas station this morning on the way to class. 9:30 in the morning classes are bad. It's a bad idea. But usually I stop and I bring 2 different mugs. I'm like, hey, can I get my mug refill? But I brought my Stanley, the OG Stanley, by the way, not the crazy one Target had. I was like, can I fill this up and just pay you for a bunch of cups? The guy was like, okay, sure. And only charged me for 3 mug refills. So it was like $3 to fill this whole thing up at the gas station. It's like, that was pretty sweet. Still would be cheaper to do at home, but I was too lazy to make a pot of coffee before I left. All right, Visual Studio, what happened here? I don't know what it's doing. All right, can I come back now, please? I broke it. All right, I'm just going to close it and reopen it. Why not? Give it the old restart. Waiting for IntelliSense to finish initializing. You can continue working. Thanks, Visual Studio. We will continue working. Aha, it worked. Okay, so I'm going to come back here and uncheck this one. So let's say it's not checked. Where did it go here? No, come on. Checked. We'll set this one to false. And then I'm going to come to my button here. And I'm actually going to take the text out for now because that's fun here. And I'm going to come to enabled. I'm going to set enabled to false. So now the button's going to be grayed out. I won't be able to click on it here. So some people call this dithered out. I don't know what the official term is. I call it grayed out. It's disabled. Sure. So you can't click it. It's there, but you can't do anything with it. So now we can go and turn it on once we hit one of these things. So I'll go set the text here, and then I'll say my add button dot enabled is true. Let's go turn the button back on. So you can change the state of your controls in code, which is super fun. Like, it doesn't have to be just the property. You can go change these properties in your code here. This will be really useful for your project. That's why I'm spending a little bit of time playing with these things. That's all. Now I can click my buttons, do whatever I want here, add some income. And we see that, right? And maybe we could make it grayed out every single time, make them pick again. We got lots of choices. Whatever sounds like it'd be fun here for you, okay? We okay so far? This one make sense? All right. Do you want to do it as a drop down instead of radio buttons? No, that's not worth it. That's okay. All right. Let me go commit this version here. So here's project 1, v2. 4 buttons. Technically 1 more button, right? We got rid of the 1 deduction button, but we added 2 radio buttons, so we're a net gain of 1 button. The more buttons in your UI, the better. Obviously, right? No? Here's the terrible, what is it? Phone date of birth. Entry UI. There's a whole funny thread here. No, that's best. I want the worst. Terrible worst. There's a whole funny thread on Twitter. Let's see if I can find it.
You should do a slider for that.
The slider, yeah. There's a whole funny thing. Was it not date of birth? Oh, worst UI for number input. Twitter. Is it this? Bored Panda. Please enter your phone number. You can build it in the UI. I don't recommend you do. This one was really fun. This one would actually be amusing. Old rotary phones. Does anyone remember these? There was a funny video that went around showing Gen Z kids, like, how do you dial on the rotary phone, and no one knew how to do it. Which, I mean, obviously, they haven't been around in forever. I think they even stopped being supported now that like all of our phones are actually digital. Like, I don't think you can actually use one anymore when you plug it in.
I used landline when I was a kid. Like, we had like a home phone that I would use because I had a cell phone.
Yeah.
And I would like take the, like it was a cord, obviously, and I would take it like all the way downstairs so it would just be stretched like across my house.
Here's a little crank. Crank up your volume. All right, this was making noise as loud as you want the volume to be. All right, some of these are fun. All right, so you can do fun things with UI. That was the idea here. All right, so we got that committed. All right, should we move on to the new stuff then? What are we, week 3, right? I'm going to do another form here because forms are fun. I like forms. This is week 3. Object-oriented. Are there 2 R's? I don't think there is. Object-oriented programming. There's 2 M's though, right? I'm really bad at spelling. Spelling is not my strong suit. Or should we take a break? Keep going or break? Someone said keep going. All right, we'll keep going. All right, so I've got my form here. I'm not going to put anything in here yet, right? So when we think about object-oriented design, hopefully that was something you talked about in some other classes that might have been prereqs for this one here. But building things as classes, making things reusable, and encapsulating all of your details into one nice little class, having people work with your class with this abstract public interface, your API. There's public functions, public methods they interact with, and private attributes. You keep everything private that they shouldn't be manipulating. They have to go through your functions. The class protects the integrity of its attributes. So if it shouldn't have a negative value for something, it doesn't allow you to give it a negative value for something. These sorts of ideas. Not enough people are shaking their head and I'm sad, but that's okay. That's all right, we'll practice, we'll practice. All right, so I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna add a new class. So at the project here, I'm gonna go and say, hey, I wanna add a new item. I wanna add a class. Oh, it came right up as class 1. That's awesome. Didn't really want to call it class 1. That's okay. Let's go rename this here. Now, the name of the file doesn't have to match the name of the class. We're not in Java. In Java land, you have to do that. I like that, though, and that makes me happy. So I'm going to go rename it because I think class 1's a terrible variable name. Right? It's also a terrible class name. It's a terrible file name as well. So let's call this one, how about rectangle? Rectangle's super boring here. It says, hey, do you want to rename the thing? Yeah, let's rename it. And it renames it for me. Love this tool. It's even suggesting values here. I love it. So rectangle then. One of the ideas with object-oriented programming is we have private attributes and public methods. So I can have a private int for length and a private int for width. Right? It suggests height. I don't have a 3-dimensional. This is not a cube. This is just a rectangle. So sometimes the suggestions aren't great here. but that's okay. So length and width, and then maybe I'll make a constructor, so public rectangle that takes a length and a width. Look at that. This length, this width. I love these suggestions. Look at that. I just hit tab a bunch. So we have a constructor that takes parameters, a parameterized constructor. So one of my favorite things to say. It's such a funny word, parameterized constructor. Instead of a default constructor or no argument constructor. We could write one of those too if you wanted, right? You can overload your constructors. So here's a rectangle. Sets length 0, width 0, sure. You can have a nothing rectangle by default here, or you can give it a length and width, and we'll accept your length and width. Right? Now, these are private. I can't access these values anywhere, so I need public methods to go get at them, right? So we can write a public, look at that. How fun. Anyway, so int get length returns length. And a public int get width, oops, get width returns the width. Right, so now you can go get these values back out, and now we need ways to set them. So generally our set methods are void, right? They're not going to return anything, so public void set length, int length. There we go. This length is the length. I like it. Void set width, int width. It knows what I'm doing here. I don't even have Copilot enabled. This is not that. This is like the cheap community version too, and it's suggesting it, which is really fun. The Copilot stuff's even cooler. You give it like a comment, and then it's like, here's the code I think you want. Which is fun. All right, so now I can go get these values and I can set these values, but nothing is stopping me from doing stupid things, right? A rectangle, as far as I understand, can't have a negative length or a negative width. Something about the laws of physics, right? I mean, if you can show me a rectangle with negative length or width, I will be very impressed. But if our code should model things in the real world, we should put those same constraints on in our code, right? The class is gonna protect its integrity. If you can't have a negative length, don't let it. That's why we make this attribute private. It's private so someone can't just come in and say, hey, your length is -2. They have to use my public function, set length. And my public function can do something about that. We can say, hey, if the length is less than 0, I'll just assume it's 0, right? Otherwise, I'll take the length you give me, right? Again, you can use one of those cute little ternary expressions if you like. I find them confusing. But I know now the question mark goes first. I will remember that for the next 10 minutes. Yeah?
How would it work if you use the constructor?
So we have to fix that. Yes, so good. That's a good point. So my constructor would accept a ridiculous length here because it's not sanity checking it. So let's go change it. We'll say set length, given the length. Right? If you have the same code twice, you should feel bad about yourself. That's a pretty good rule of thumb in programming. Right? So if I have a place to check the length, don't copy paste it, just use the method, right? That's why we write methods. And we'll do the same for width here, set width, but now we need to change all these to widths, width, and width, and width, and width, and width. So again, double clicking, I think I mentioned this, will highlight an entire word, which is nice. So if you do camel casing, right, that counts as one word, everything until it finds a space, and then Control C, Control V for copy paste. I don't want to right click rename. Uh-oh. It's telling me unnecessary assignment of a value to length. So this length that I'm setting is the attribute length. Notice how it's lit up length here, and it's the bluish color if you're not colorblind. So what I really want is this length, right? This is your implicit pointer to your current object. You have the this pointer in C++. Everyone's happy with that? Okay, cool. So this dot width is 0, or it equals the width, right? So now I can go and set the values. So we'll have set width. Given the width, okay, get length, set width, get width, okay. So now I can go use my rectangle. So over in my form, let's go add some text boxes here. Really? Really? It's thinking hard. No usable controls. I don't know why it's upset with me today. Let me close it down, start it up again. When in doubt, restart. You seen the Dilbert? Dogbert. Desk. This is one of my favorite comics. I think it's. Oh, come on. No? This one. This is one of the best comics. I worked in the help desk for a little more than a year, and I definitely appreciate this one because I worked at the help desk. It was a great job, though. I worked the night shift and got so much homework done between calls. It was awesome. Good time. All right, let's see if we get our toolbox back. There we go. I don't know what was up with that, but that's fine. So we'll make a text box here, drag one in, and then I need some labels so people know what this text box is for. Let's call this one length, and then I'll copy paste and have a width. We'll call this one width. And then I should give these some names, right? So they're not 1 and 2, so length, text box, very exciting. A width, text box, very exciting. And a button. And we'll call this the make rectangle button, sure. And the text should be make a rectangle. I don't know. You like tall buttons? We can make a tall button. You can make your UI as crazy looking as you want, it's okay. You don't like tall buttons. It's a really sad face. Yes, I won't lie, but it amuses me. So when you click make a rectangle now, let's go do something. So let's see if we can take those values. So I want to make a rectangle. So if I want this rectangle to exist other places, it's a class level attribute. So I'll have a rectangle, I don't know, rectangle? Sure. When you click the button, now we can say rectangle equals a new rectangle. Now the new keyword here means we're creating a new instance here. Because this is a managed runtime, it doesn't mean I'm dealing with pointers, and I don't have to manage this object and throw it away when I'm done and free up memory here. C# does all of that for us thanks to the .NET runtime. It is amazing. So don't be afraid of the new keyword anymore. It doesn't hurt. Right? But we're saying create a new instance of this object. Right? Great, so now we have a rectangle. Now I probably want to give it the length and width, but I can go set those separately if I want, right? Or I could pass them to the constructor. Either way should be fine for me, but we'll just do them one at a time. So we'll say set length to my length text box dot text, and all of that as an integer here. So I want int.parse, given that. Okay, so we'll set the length, cool, and we'll set the width. Set width, given the width text box. And I'm just hitting tab a lot, and usually the first suggestion's right. Sometimes I have to go back and change it again. Right? So now we got the rectangle. Now what do we want to do with a rectangle though? Well, let's go add another label here. And we'll call this the rectangle label. And probably don't need any text here yet. We can go set that in a minute. Okay. So once it's done then, we can go and update our rectangle label. Sure. So we'll take our rectangle label and we'll set the text to something here now. Look at that, rectangle toString. Do I want to get a toString version of my class? Sounds like fun. This toString method, notice, belongs to object. We haven't got to inheritance yet. We'll get there in a second. But remember in C++, everything is an object. All of our classes, same in C#. Everything is an object. So object gives us a couple classes like toString. It's probably garbage though, right? But we'll find out. We'll see what kind of hot garbage we get. Okay, so let's go, I don't know, 4 and 4, make a rectangle. And we get week 3 object-oriented programming.rectangle. The toString tells me the name of the class by default. Not very useful, but at least I could get a string out of it here, right? So thanks object. It's probably the best they could do. So if I want to do something better for a toString, I need to go write a toString method. So let's go, I don't know, let's throw it down here at the bottom. So I want public string toString, and I need to return a string then, right, that matches what I want this to be. So we'll return, I don't know, how about length and width? Or rectangle with length, and width. Maybe some colons, I don't know, what's going to make that look pretty? Width. Sure, so now I can get a string representation of my class here. Word must begin with uppercase. Is it really capital? It is capital T, my bad, capital T, toString. There we go. And now it's telling us, hey, it hides the inherited member object toString. To make the current member override that implementation, add the override keyword. Otherwise, add the new keyword. This is really weird here, but you've got options here. We don't want to replace, right? We don't want rename. Right? All those suggestions are not great for us here. So, but we can say add the override keyword and say, hey, this will override the other version, which is nice. We want this keyword. This is helpful for us. It helps with our polymorphism, where you can treat one object as another type, its parent type. Some more fun buzzwords we can throw around. Okay, not quite necessary, but it's useful, and then we get some indicators like, hey, this is overriding the toString that was inherited. So we get some more visual cues to us. It's a good little note. Hey, we're changing the behavior of a parent class. Now for object, we don't really care. Not all that important, but it's good practice to get into. So now if we make a rectangle, 4 and 4, length of 4. Oh, look at that, I can't even spell length, and width of 4. Super exciting. We've got it here. Now, other cool things we can do with rectangle, right? We can calculate an area, right? We can calculate a perimeter. We love geometry, right? Why not? So now let's look at some fun shortcuts we can do. So instead of making an entire method like public int get area that returns length times width, you can do this. That's perfectly fine here. Or, why is one's uppercase? I'm really bad at this notation here. Fix name violation. There we go. You want uppercase? Okay, sure. I don't like when I have all those lines bothering me, so let's go fix these here. Capitals for my method names. Why not? Almost there, sorry. Come on. Fix. Fix. All right, was that all of them? Okay. So we can get area like this. The other thing we can do is we get lots of fun little shortcuts in C# because it's written by developers for developers, and like all good developers, we're lazy, right? Efficiently lazy. I don't want to do more work than I need to. And having to type all of this is so tedious, right? So instead of doing that, I can say, hey, I have a public int, and we'll say, this is, how about perimeter? Perimeter? Parameter? Does that seem right? And then I'm going to use this crazy syntax here, this arrow, double fat arrow, I think they call this one, the equal sign arrow, fat arrow. I'll say the perimeter is length times 2 plus width times 2. So it looks like it's a public attribute here, but it's backed by an expression. So this is an expression-backed property. So I'm computing something, but it looks like it's a property of my class here, which is fun. So in my code here then, if I want to do more things like, we can do more things. Let me add some more labels here because labels are fun. Let's add a area label and take the text out. And then we'll add a perimeter label. I probably should have left the text in here actually. So this is perimeter. This is my perimeter label. Perimeter label. And I don't know where that other went. I can, yeah, there we go. I can drag it here. So we'll call this one area. And sure, we'll try and line those up. Okay, so we got area, we've got perimeter. So in my code then, when rectangle changes, I'm going to go set those values. So we'll take my area label and we'll set the text to area. And now I have rectangle.getArea. We'll get the area. I'm calling this method here. But for perimeter, it looks a little different. Because it's a property, it's not a method. So we'll take my perimeter label, we'll set the text to $, this is perimeter. Now I just say rectangle dot, and the first thing that comes up here is perimeter. And this has got this little wrench here. It's a property. You might have seen the different icons here. Is that spelled wrong? I feel like that's spelled wrong. Perimeter? That's okay. We can fix it later. So perimeter is a property here. Remember when we were working with arrays, you had the dot length, because arrays are actually smart in C#. They know how long they are. Then we had an int array, numbers equals new int array, sure, 6, why not? We had numbers dot length. Come on, numbers. Nope. Why? Numbers. Oh, because I'm not spelling it. I have nubmers. My goodness. Like, how many times is that going to take me? Numbers dot. Right? We see these are all interesting things. So these arrows mean stuff, right? The squares usually mean, hey, it's a method here that's happening. We have length. And that's a property. Gets the total number of elements in a given array. So this length here is a property we can go get the value of. So perimeter looks like a property. It's an expression-backed property. Oops. We don't need any of that. So it shows up there. So now when I make rectangles here, let's go like 4 and 5. Area is 20, perimeter is 18. Sure, that's fun. 7, make a rectangle. Okay, we're doing all right so far. Now, those are fun and all, but you know, text boxes are kind of annoying. We looked at making some terrible UIs. So why don't we try a terrible UI? It wasn't terrible. This will actually be kind of fun. What is wrong? I need a Windows update. I put it off today, and it's not happy with me, I think, that I put off my Windows update. And I'm being punished. Probably. All right, let's try one more time. We'll probably take a break. It's almost 7. We'll take a break in just a minute here. But let me see if I can get this working. It'll be super fun. You guys like sliders, right? Someone mentioned doing a slider for our income, right? I think that you said, or slider for phone number, was it? Let's see if we can do sliders for length and width. So instead of a length and width text box, let's go see if we can find a slider. Well, it's not in common here. Let's go search. Slider. No? Oh, goodness. Where is the slider? There is one. What is it called? Not a scroll bar. No, I have it in here. Where is it? No? Where's my slider? What's the control? No? Is it not there, really? Slider control. Studio, C#. Slider class? Can make a slider. Got one there. Slider class Windows form toolbox. I need the right words here. Slider control missing. Is it a track bar?
Yeah.
Can try a track bar. Okay, do we have a track bar? PQRST. Track bar. Okay, it's not called a slider, it's called a track bar. This is the kind of stuff you don't need to memorize. Clearly, this is an illustration for you. I'm looking dumb on purpose. This is intentional. All right, so let's see. So we've got some properties of our track bar here. So let's call this the length. I'm going to call it a slider because that makes me happy. Because I was upset that it's not called the slider. And small change, tab index, tick frequency. So tick frequency is good here. How many ticks we have. Where's my max and min? Is it not in here? Location margin. Wow. I do want one every tick here. I want some values. Okay, let's go search it. Track bar, max, min. Let's C#. Specific intervals. Maximum and minimum. Okay, so you do it in the code, I guess. Sure, that seems like fun. Okay, I guess. All right, so we got our slider anyway, and then we want events here. So what happens when I scroll? Let's see. Is the scroll event? Well, let's get the value of it here. So let's get my length slider dot what value? Gets the numeric value represented by the current position on of the scroll box on the track bar. Okay, so this is going to be our length here then. So let's call rectangle.setLength. Set length given the value of our track bar. And then we want to update our label here, right? So, all right, that's fine. So let's go and update our label. Let me go and extract this. I can extract this as a method called update rectangle labels. And now it turns it into a method for me, which is nice. So after you do that, then we'll update the labels and see what we get here. Semicolon. Let's see if our slider works. So first, if we don't have that, it crashes, right? A null reference exception, because there is no rectangle. I never clicked the make rectangle button. It's probably a bad thing. So maybe we turn that off until we make a rectangle, or we pick some values, or we got some options, right? Now if I try the slider here, look, we go from 0 to 10. How fun is that? So it must be the default length and width, so or min and max. We could probably change that later if we wanted here. We got one slider working. We could put in a second slider, have fun with them, and go from there. But we can do that after break. Sound good? Does anyone else want any coffee? If not, I'm going to finish it. All right, you got it. All right, see you folks in a little bit.